And I am so sick and tired of this lady. I am so sick and tired of Stephanie White's BS. Pick a side. What side are you on? Are you going to protect your player in Caitlin Clark? Have you or Alyssa Thomas called to see if Caitlin Clark is okay? We got to get into this, man. Stephanie White calling out Caitlin Clark fans, basically calling them racist and all of this stuff. This is nasty work, man. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, hype the video. That'd be greatly appreciated as always. We got to get right into things, man. Stephanie White, disgusted with what you had to say.
The WNBA is currently on fire, but not for the reasons the front office wants you to believe. For years, the league begged for eyes, for relevance, and for a reason to be taken seriously on the global stage. Then, they finally got it. They got the golden ticket in Caitlin Clark. But instead of protecting the person who literally saved the league's bottom line, it seems like the people in charge are doing everything they can to alienate the very fans who brought the money with them. The latest move from Indiana Fever coach Stephanie White has sent shockwaves through the community, and not because of what she said, but because of who she decided to leave behind. It makes you wonder if the goal is actually to grow the game, or if there's a much darker effort to keep the status quo at any cost. People are absolutely fed up with the mixed signals coming out of Indiana. For months, we've watched Caitlin Clark get targeted on the court, shoved, and practically hunted by veterans who seem more interested in welcoming her to the league with a hard foul than playing actual basketball. Through all of that, the silence from the coaching staff was deafening. But suddenly, the tone has shifted. Stephanie White stood at the podium and went on a tear, essentially labeling a massive portion of the fanbase as toxic and racist. While nobody condones actual hate, the timing is beyond suspicious.
Keisha Hines-Allen stood up for her Indiana Fever teammates in the first game versus the Phoenix Mercury, and she was called all type of coons and names online because of it. Did y'all do all of this then? I don't think so, man. I'm disgusted with what Stephanie White did, trying to slam Caitlin Clark fans. This is nasty work.
I know. I got AB's sneakers on today. Before we start with questions, I just want to address, what's going on with AT. I think first and foremost, it's absolutely unacceptable. I think as a league, as a whole, there's been so much more toxicity, racism, homophobia.
It feels less like a stand for justice and more like a targeted strike against the people who are actually buying the tickets. It's a move that has many wondering whose side the coach is really on. But that was only the beginning of the fallout. To understand why this is so insulting to the fans, you have to look at the cold, hard numbers. For over 2 decades, the WNBA was essentially a charity project. It was a write-off for the NBA, a league that struggled to fill half an arena on a good night. Then came the Clark effect. Suddenly, private jets are being booked, TV rates.
Hate nonsense. And it is absolutely unacceptable. Most of this coming from the online community. Most of this, in my heart of hearts, I believe, not coming from WNBA fans, Indiana Fever fans. I believe that this is people who are using our league, using our players to further divisive agendas. It's not acceptable.
You might as well try to throw Caitlin Clark's name in there. It's very obvious what you're doing. It's very, very obvious what you're doing, and it's nasty. I'm disgusted with what you're doing right now.
Ratings are beating the MLB, and players are seeing checks they couldn't have dreamed of 5 years ago. Yet, the moment these new fans voice their frustration about how Clark is being treated, they're told they aren't real fans. It's a bizarre strategy, taking the new money with one hand while slapping the fans with the other. The league claims to be about inclusivity, but it seems that inclusivity doesn't extend to the people who are actually keeping the lights on. And the double standards are becoming impossible to ignore. The real nasty work happens when you look at what the league chooses to ignore. Remember when Tiffany Hayes was basically inciting people to get physical with Clark? Or when players were liking posts on social media that celebrated Clark getting hit? The league didn't hold a special press conference for that. There were no emotional speeches about protecting the players when the person being targeted was the rookie sensation. It's this selective outrage that is driving a wedge into the heart of the sport. It feels like there's an unwritten rule that says you can do whatever you want to Caitlin Clark, but the second the fans push back, the moral police come out in full force. It's a dangerous game to play, especially when your league's survival depends on the very people you're insulting. But wait until you hear how this is affecting the locker room dynamic.
Also, say that. You want to throw Caitlin Clark fans under the bus? This has been a charity league. This has been a write-off for NBA owners that didn't want to deal with negative press of not having a women's team. That's what this league has been. This league has never been profitable until Caitlin Clark showed up. So make sure you say that as well.
Continue to be about, and we will continue to compete at a high level, hold ourselves to a higher standard, continue to be on the forefront of social norms, and we will continue to support one another collectively as a league. Players, coaches.
There is a growing theory that Caitlin Clark is living in a house divided. Imagine being the person who brought the fame, the sold-out crowds, and the massive endorsements to a team, only to have your own coach throw your supporters under the bus. It creates an environment where the star player is treated like an outsider in her own organization. While the coach is busy defending players from other teams, she's benching her own star or failing to speak up when Clark is being harassed on the floor. It's a level of dysfunction that you usually only see in failing franchises, but here it's happening to the most popular team in the league. Some are even suggesting that the old guard is so desperate to keep their social norms intact that they'd rather the league stay small than let a newcomer like Clark redefine it. And that leads to a very uncomfortable question. Why is the league so obsessed with random accounts on the internet? Stephanie White and others are spending their time fighting ghosts on X accounts with 4 followers and a cartoon profile picture as if they represent the entire fanbase. It's a distraction tactic. By focusing on the bottom feeders of the internet, they avoid talking about the real issues, the inconsistent officiating, the lack of marketing for their actual stars, and the clear resentment some veterans have toward the new era. It's much easier to call a fanbase toxic than it is to admit that the league's infrastructure wasn't ready for this level of scrutiny. They want the NBA-level money, but they don't want the NBA-level criticism. But as the pressure builds, something has to give. The Save Caitlin movement isn't just a hashtag anymore, it's becoming a genuine plea for this girl to get out of Indiana. People are watching her body language, her post-game interviews, and the way she's being hung out to dry by the people who should have her back. When you have a coach who is more worried about being inclusive of every community except her own star players' supporters, the writing is on the wall. The frustration is reaching a boiling point, and if things don't change soon, we might be looking at the shortest honeymoon phase in sports history. The league finally got the world's attention, but at this rate, they're going to spend all that goodwill trying to prove a point rather than building a legacy. At the end of the day, basketball is supposed to be about what happens between the lines. It's about competition, skill, and the fans who pay their hard-earned money to see greatness. But in the current WNBA, it feels like the game has become secondary to a series of agendas and personal grievances. If the league and coaches like Stephanie White continue to treat their new audience like the enemy, they shouldn't be surprised when those fans and the revenue they bring disappear as quickly as they arrived. You can't build a future by resenting the people who are trying to give you one. It's time for the league to decide if it wants to be a professional sports powerhouse or a private club where only certain opinions are welcome. Because right now, they're trying to have it both ways, and it's a mess that's getting harder to watch. Let us know in the comments, is it time for Caitlin to find a team that actually appreciates her?